I'll give you a short talk on the something interesting I have read in the discourse, Chapana Sutta, discourse on the 6 animals. Now this is regard to our meditation. And the Buddha explained on the name the 6 kinds of the animals of different ranges, of different habitat, would pull each towards its own range of habitat. The snake would pull, thinking, I go into the anthill, because the snake looking for a hole, there's a hole to stay. So this is the when you catch the snake, so you tie it up, but the snake will struggle to get into the ant's hill because he will feel safe there, his natural habitat. The crocodile will pull, thinking, I'll go to the water. Again, if you catch a crocodile, you tie it up, then the crocodile will struggle going to the water. And the bird would pull, thinking, I'll fly up into the air. The bird will think that if I fly, I would have freedom. So you catch a bird, you tie up the legs, and the bird will struggle to fly away into the air. The dog would pull, thinking, I'll go into the village. He wants to go there, look for food, look for children, he likes to run around. And a hyena would pull, thinking, I'll go to the charnel ground. A hyena is those dogs that eat all the rotten things, dead animals. Hyena is something like a dog, but it is a wild dog. So he likes to go to the place, the charnel ground, where there are a lot of rotten meat around. The monkey would pull, thinking, I'll go to the forest. That's where he likes, swinging from tree to tree. And these 6 animals became internally exhausted. They would submit, they would surrender, they would come under the sway of whichever among them was the strongest. In the same way, when a monk whose mindfulness immersed in the body is undeveloped, unpursued, the eye pulled towards pleasing form, while pleasing form are repellent. The ear pulled towards pleasing sound, the nose pulled towards pleasing aroma, the tongue pulled towards pleasing flavor, the body pulls towards pleasing tactile sensation, the intellect pulls towards pleasing idea, while unpleasing idea are repellent. This monk is lack of restraint. Now it's a simile. Sometimes the Buddha take the things that we see every day, so that when he explains, it becomes clear, much easier to understand. Buddha is talking about the 6 senses, each with its different habitat. In other words, the eye is different. The eye looks for color, for form, for shape. It's different from the ear looking for sound, because that is the habitat. If we walk along the road, somebody makes some sound, at once we turn around to see what it is. Is it a pleasing sound? Who makes the sound? Or we caught something, a pleasant sight, then we turn, then we observe, then we investigate. What is that? Pleasing object, because that is the habitat of the eye, because that is what the eye likes to do. Habitat, it likes to see. And so, it's the smell. If you meditate and you have a certain smell that you haven't come across, then you start to take notice. You say, what is the smell? I haven't smelled that before. Then you get trapped in the smell. Then you start to imagine the smell. Now, if it is a nice smell, then you feel very happy about it. You say, oh, I've experienced very pleasant smell when I meditate. Or even taste. Sometimes people who meditate, experience very pleasant taste. Or even thoughts, the Buddha said, thinking. When you meditate and then it comes across some pleasing thoughts, then the mind is trapped. The mind goes towards that pleasing thoughts and it stays there and enjoy the thoughts for a long time. Now this is the natural habitats. We call it natural tendencies of these objects and the senses. So it is natural. So the mind goes, the senses goes towards the object. Now, then what is wrong with it? What is wrong with it? It is wrong when it does not accompany with mindfulness. Now, if like a bird, it is set free, then it flies, then it enjoys, then it gets lost. Now, without mindfulness, then it gets lost. So the seeing gets lost, the hearing gets lost. You get lost in nice music. You listen for hours and hours. You get lost with food. You keep on eating all the time. You get lost with nice smell. You put on a lot of perfume. Then you enjoy the whole day. And so you get lost in the sense that if the mind goes towards its habitat and it stays in enjoyment, like a bird, it flies in the air, like the taste, it enjoys nice taste, then in other words, the mind is not able to comprehend, to penetrate the nature of the objects. Mind and objects, they are connected with the senses. Now, if one is very lucky, one has good karma, and so therefore one has a lot of things that we can have to enjoy, then you see that if one does not practice mindfulness, then one is not able to understand Dhamma. One is not able to get samadhi. One is not able to get concentration and calmness of mind when one is lost in the habitat. In other words, in the tendencies of the senses. Now, these senses has its tendencies. That is why you find it so difficult to control the senses. Because it's struggling. The bird struggling to fly. The dog struggling to go to the village. The hyena struggling to go to the charnel ground for food. The snakes struggle to get into the hole. Crocodiles looking for water. Now, with these senses, the Buddha makes it very clear. It has its tendencies. That's why you find it so hard to control the senses, because it has its natural habitat. It wants to go there. It wants to go to the water. The crocodile wants to stay there, wants to enjoy, swim around, and that's what the senses does. Without mindfulness, then they're at the habitat, then they enjoy themselves. Now once the mind is enjoyment, then it could not see things as they really are. Mind is trapped in enjoyment. So it stays there, enjoy. But what happens if he goes there and he does not like it? Now if the dog goes to the village and people throw stone, people chase him, the boy catch hold of him, beat him, dog don't like it, and so comes displeasure, suffering, just as the crocodile, just as the bird. When he flies around, the hawk, the bigger birds were to grab him, would cause injury, cause pain, he wouldn't like it. Now the same way, the habitat, that we are constantly going towards the habitat, what we like in our senses. But what happened if it goes towards the habitat that we don't like? Again, trapped in repellent. The mind would not see things as they are, could not understand reality. It just suffer without knowing why. That is what most people do. If they don't practice mindfulness, they experience a lot of pain. Sometimes they experience a lot of people scolding them for no reason. They experience a lot of sicknesses for no reason. Like I just heard that a friend is so strong and he's very careful what he eats. He's a vegetarian and he looks very careful, the food and his body and he exercise. But then suddenly he realized he got cancer. Short while he died, passed away. So there are those things that we want, but we meet with things we don't want, and they just don't understand why. Just understand why. I like to just go to the water. Why does people give me trouble? I just like to fly. Why those people hurt me? I just want to eat food. Why do they beat me? They just don't understand. Just don't understand. And so they reject. That's where ill will is. Once we go to the habitat, we search for things to see, smell, taste, touch, but we don't get what we want, then we get a lot of ill will, a lot of mental pain. Why? Because there's no mindfulness, no restraint. Only when you practice restraint. Now what is this, the restraint? Then the Buddha continued. Binding them with a strong rope, he would tether them to a strong post or stake. When he catch hold of these animals, tie them up, tie them up in a strong post or stake. The pole is strong and it's hammered deep into the ground, so they would not escape. Then these 6 animals of different ranges, of different habitat, would each pull towards its own range and habitats. Now, just as you meditate with mindfulness, but still the mind is pulling all over the place. When you meditate rising, falling, then the mind wants to see, mind wants to hear, the mind wants to go home, the mind wants to eat. You'll be meditating and the mind say, I'm hungry. So it just goes towards its habitat. He just want to find a place where it is comfortable, where he can just lay down. Like a bird wants to fly, he doesn't want to sit still because it's a lot of pain, because it's not enjoyment. Just want to fly. The mind just want to go, doesn't want to sit, and it causes a lot of trouble. So he's struggling. But with mindfulness, we say, knowing, come back, rising, falling. Don't allow it to fly. In mindfulness, we tie it down. Don't allow it to fly. Don't allow the crocodile to go to the water. Don't allow the hyena to go to the channel ground. Just tie it there and let it pull. And the Buddha says that, and when these 6 animals became internally exhausted, they could pull what they want. Let them pull. Because it is natural for our senses to pull. Natural. Because it has its own habitat. It has its own place of longing. Has its own place of happiness and enjoyment. He likes to see nice things. He likes to hear music. He likes to eat good food. He likes to lie down. Temperature just nice. Not too hot, not too cold. Because that is the natural habitat of our mind and body. We like to have nice thoughts. We don't like to tie it down to rising and falling. We want to dream. We want to think pleasant dreams. We like to think something nice. So it's struggle. It's struggle. But mindfulness. So what we do is knowing. You feel like eating food, knowing, eating. Feel like stopping, then you know. Your mind don't like it. Stopping. Just pull it. Don't let it go. Just pull it. Whatever arises, just know it. And they will constantly do that because they are searching for their happiness. Each one of them has their different search because they are different. Eye wants to see, ear wants to hear, nose wants to smell. They have their different objective. They have their different place, different habitat. They have the different place of happiness. So each pulling their own way. In the same way, when a monk whose mindfulness immersed in the body, develop and pursue, the eye does not pull towards pleasing form. Unpleasing form are not repellent. The ear does not pull towards pleasing sound. The nose does not pull towards pleasing aroma. The tongue does not pull towards pleasing flavor. The body does not pull towards pleasing tactile sensation. The intellect does not pull towards pleasing ideas, and unpleasing ideas are not repellent. This monk is restrained. In other words, the mind is well trained. When you sit, keep on sitting and just watch. If I told you again and again and again, just sit and watch. That is what you do. Restrain. Hold on to your senses. Don't let it fly. Bird wants to fly. If you let it fly, then it goes to its own habitat. Then it goes to enjoyment. Then you can't. Then you're lost. Then you can't develop concentration. You can't develop samadhi. You can't develop wisdom. Because it flies away. The mind flies away. Just as these senses, if you don't catch hold of it, then it flies away like these 6 different types of animals. It's searching, pulling here, pulling there. And they have different habitats. That is hard. That's why it is sometimes very confusing for us when we meditate, because they are different. They're not one thing. If they're one thing, it's easy to guide them, to guard them. But it's not one thing. It is 6 things. It's hard. So mindfulness holds on. So you must note them. The 6 things. If it goes to dreaming and thinking, then you know, thinking, dreaming. Come back to the body. Anchor it back to the body, rising, falling, lifting, pushing. Anchor it back to the body. Now that's the way you practice in meditation. You can do that as well even in daily life. When it flies away, when it causes a lot of confusion. When the object is pleasant, you are lost. When the object is unpleasant, you are also lost. When the object is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, you are also lost. If you don't practice restraint, if there is no mindfulness, you are lost. Because it's so pleasing when people praise you, you are lost in praise. Then if people scold you, you are lost in anger. When it is just a normal sound, then you are lost in boredom. Then you get very bored. Then you say, life is so bored. Nothing to do, nothing to enjoy. You're also lost. Now, mindfulness, then you note, this is seeing, this is hearing, this is smelling, this is merely tasting. It is pleasant taste. It is unpleasant taste. This is tasting. Mindfulness. That's mindfulness in daily life as well as mindfulness in your practice. And the Buddha talked about samadhi. Now in that way, you build up your samadhi. Then you are not lost. Now once the samadhi is not built up, then you easily get lost. You are pulled by the habitat. Each one of them pulls different ways. They don't pull the same way. These 6 types of animals, they pull each one their own way. So they don't just pull one way. So mindfulness needs to be strong in order to catch hold of them. Now to go further into vipassana, go further into the seeing things as they are. There are other sutras where the Buddha continue on with mindfulness of object as object. Now that we learn in our Dhammanupassana, that comes under the wisdom meditation. Now in these sutras, Buddha talk about the body in the body. You just stay in the body and note your senses as you meditate, where it goes. Is it pulled towards hearing? Is it pulled towards the smell? Is it pulled towards your thinking? Or pulled towards your seeing? Or is it because you are bored, you do not want to meditate anymore? Or is it restless because it wants to think pleasant things, but you don't allow it, you anchor it on? But as you develop the mindfulness, knowing, it settles down. And without samadhi, there is no insight, which I always repeat again and again, that samadhi needs to be built up, because samadhi take care of the hindrances. When samadhi is there, there is no chance for defilements to arise. Now, if defilement is strong, when samadhi is not there, then the defilements constantly comes out to the mind, and there will be no insight. You'll not be able to see things as they are, externally or internally. This realization is just like a snap of the fingers. When it is developed, when samadhi becomes strong, and when the mind experiences the object, see things as they really are. Now, how does the mind see things as they really are? With mindfulness, the mind notes the seeing object, the mind notes the hearing object, like what you're doing now when you're practicing in your formal meditation. Hearing. But you don't investigate the object, you just keep it at the sense door of hearing to build up your samadhi. You don't go towards the object. But when your samadhi is built up, and you go into the practice of Dhammanupassana, when you go out to seeing external object, because if there is no samadhi, you cannot stand external object. Easily you are defeated by the object, because samadhi is not there. Whenever you see, you are trapped in seeing, you are trapped in enjoyment, or you are trapped in rejection. You are trapped very fast. People say one word, you like or you don't like. The moment you taste, you like or you don't like. The moment you smell, you like or you don't like. Very fast. It goes towards the habitat, and then likes and dislikes, it will arise. It's very fast. Now, only when the samadhi is built up, the likes and dislikes is suppressed. What is like and dislike? The attachment and the ill will. These are likes and dislikes. Attachment is when the object is pleasing. The ill will is when the object is unpleasant, not pleasing. So what is this? These are hindrance. Hindrance. So when you are caught up with this hindrance, the mind cannot see things as they really are. So that is where the building of samadhi, what you're doing now, is a lot of building of concentration, a lot of building of peace and calmness in the mind, so that defilement, like and dislike, is not spontaneous. It's not spontaneous, because the mind goes towards its habitat. We say the bird takes to the air, the snake takes to the ant hole, crocodile takes to the water. It's their habitat. And at once there is like dislike. When it goes to the water, he likes, he splashes around. The bird flies in the air, he becomes very happy, because that's the habitat. Now the same way, if something happens, then they don't like. Now when that is building up of samadhi, then defilement cannot arise, and you see things as they are. Now what is these things as they really are? You see the nature of changing. Things are constantly changing. We do not see them if our mindfulness is not strong. We see them with hallucination, see them with fantasy. We see them with concepts. We see them with sanya, perceptions. We see them with wrong views. We see them what we like to see. We don't see the real things. We see them with confusion. But when samadhi is there, when the defilements do not arise, then you see them as they really are. You see the changing. You see object changing. You hear sound changing. And you see that the mind connected to the sound is changing. You see the hearing. What is the mind? The mind is that hearing consciousness. The mind is that seeing consciousness. The mind is that tasting consciousness. You see of different tastes as you taste. You hear of different sound as it arises and passes away. You smell of different smell all the time. It's not the same smell. As you see the object is changing, you see the mind changes with the object. And when you see the change, then you see the insecurity of this mind and body. Once you see the insecurity of this mind and body, you see the substance of this mind and body. And when you see these three things, the mind becomes detached. When the mind becomes detached, the mind is free from nama rupa. Mind is free from objects and body. Freedom, that is what Nibbana is. Mind is free. Nibbana is not trapped in mind and body. When there is mind and body, there is rebirth. Nibbana is not. The theory is quite simple, but the practice is difficult. The Buddha described it in a million ways, in 1,000 ways, which Mahayana says that 48,000 ways the Buddha tried to explain, so that 48,000 type of people can understand in 48,000 ways. But the Dhamma is one. But because we are born differently through our paramis, through our past development, life after life, we have gathered information, perceptions, experiences, insight or knowledge. Each of us are different. So the Buddha explained it in 48,000 verses. The Dhamma could be quite simple. Can be just sometimes quoted in 4 lines when a person is ready to understand, to enlighten. But when a person is not ready, then he needs more lines, needs more sutras, needs more explanation, needs more ways to let him see. And the 6 animals is quite a very innovative way. The Buddha normally use a lot of nature things to describe the Dhamma. Nature things. Things of nature that we can easily see and understand. That is why we find it difficult, so difficult to practice, to bring in our mind to the center, because we are pulling 6 sides. We are constantly being pulled. And what do? Don't let go of your mindfulness. Just sit still, just watch. Just watch. And that comes under the Dhammanupassana, 6 sense space. When you practice in your sitting meditation, and when you watch your 6 sense space, then you are practicing Dhammanupassana. Dhamma, reality. Dhamma is reality. These things that manifest by itself. Sound, hearing, and the mind that knows the hearing. Smell, then the smelling consciousness, smelling base, and the mind that knows the smelling object. Now, these are reality. And the world is just connected to what is in this 6 sense space. That is our whole world. If you are blind, then the whole world is in darkness. If you are deaf, then the whole world is silent. The whole world is connected to our 6 senses. All right? It can help us in our practice if you understand the nature of It is not the same. The nature of smelling consciousness, hearing consciousness, it is not the same. It has its habitat. It has its different objects of enjoyment. All right? So, thus you should train yourself. We'll develop mindfulness. Immerse in body. That means to say kayanupassana. Immerse in body. What you're doing now, rising, falling, lifting, pushing. These are the body. We'll pursue it. Pursue it means continue following it. Don't let go. Hand it the reins. Take it as a basis. That means this is our foundation where we build up the fundamentals, the basic, the fundamental of our practice towards realization. So this is the basic of our meditation. Give it a grounding, means to say that you must really make it solid. Nang papu. Papu means 1 month you meditate 1 time, 2 time, papu. It's like a drum, and when you hit on it, create a lot of sound but hollow inside. So make it solid. Then when you hit the drum, the boom, 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 very solid. So you must sort of consolidate it and set about it properly. Do it properly. Don't half-heartedly. When you meditate, don't say to yourself, so only when I'm free I sit. I know free, very sorry, no sit. And don't know when you're going to sit. So you're not doing it properly. Properly means that constantly. Just do it. Build up your mindfulness so that one day you will have strong concentration. Once you develop the samadhi, then comes the vipassana. You can just walk along the road, just do anything, and there appear the insight. Dhammanupassana, through your 6 senses. What you see, you get enlightened. What you hear, you get enlightened. What you smell or taste or touch, you get enlightened. Not necessarily must you sit, only you get enlightened. Because when it is built up, when the faculties are built up, then any moment you just get enlightened. All right? So this is the sutras. The strong pose or state is a term of mindfulness immersed in the body, right? So, any question for tonight with regards to the talk, regards to your practice, if you're not clear? Any question? Yes, when you talk about enlightenment, then you talk about makkapala. When we talk about realization, it could be in any of the yanas, insight. So, they are altogether 16 insight. 14, 15, they are already enlightenment. 16, they are also enlightenment. But without Nibbana, so it's not considered as enlightenment. It's still considered as insight. So 14, 15 is the enlightenment. And first to 13, they are called insight. So when I talk about realization, it could be just in one of the insight. Could be a deep insight. But when you talk specifically on enlightenment, not realization, but enlightenment, then it is definitely makkapala, path and fusion. So it depends on the writer. Sometimes the writer use realization as Nibbana, as having sainthood, first, second, third, fourth type of sainthood. Again, enlightenment could be just any one of those. Sotapanna, Anagami, Sakadagami, or Arahant. There are 4 types of enlightenment. 4 kinds of enlightenment. Enlightenment is not only one. There are 4 kinds. Enlightenment could be just Sotapanna, first state of enlightenment, second stage of enlightenment, third stage of enlightenment, full enlightenment, which is Arahant. Full enlightenment. So the Buddha is also an Arahant. Arahant Samma Sambuddho. So Buddha is also an Arahant. So when the Buddha is alive with mind and body, the Buddha is supreme, is higher than the Arahant. But when the Buddha passed to Nibbana, the Buddha is just the same as Arahant. There's no more differentiation. Same. No more higher status. But when the Buddha is alive with mind and body, the Buddha is supreme. Even though realization is the same, attainment is the same, but Buddha is supreme in paramis. Buddha is perfection in 10 paramis. The Arahants probably 80% or 85%. Pacceka Buddha probably 90% of the paramis. Figuratively, it is not exact, figuratively, that the Sammasambuddha is fully 10 paramis compared to Pacceka Buddha. So Pacceka Buddha with psychic powers not strong as the Buddha. So he cannot make you enlightened. But the Sammasambuddha can make you enlightened. Can see into your past, the whole makeup characteristics, and know which part you are missing. So therefore we have the 40 subject of samatha meditation. But I give one that is suitable to you. So if you are born in the Buddha's time, that would be fantastic. So the next one coming is the laughing Buddha. Laughing Buddha, Maitreya Buddha, is a very joyful Buddha. Some Buddha very stern. Some Buddha very smiling. Like some meditation teacher very stern. Keep scolding you non-stop. Some teacher, you do it also can, don't do it also can. That is your future. Not the teacher's future. Also can, no problem. Depend, characteristic. So some Buddha also have different characteristics. Just as some Arahants also have different characteristics. Some Arahants also very stern. Some Arahant also like that. Very okay. So because of their past characteristics, past life training. So if you train a lot of metta, so in your future life, if you become Arahant, then you will be metta Arahant. You have a lot of loving kindness. This also can, that also can, no problem. You want to learn also can, you don't want to learn also can, no problem. You come also can, don't come also can, no problem. So it is just metta. It is just metta. It's just no judgmental, no comparison. It is just loving kindness. That's all. Yes, any question? Any question? Any question? So what you practice now makes a lot of difference in the future. Whatever you practice makes a lot of difference. So when you want to know the past, then when you see the present, so like I say to myself, it is not bad. I must have done something right that I am today. And if I look at me, myself today, then I say, I'll be all right. Because what I do today, I'll be all right in the future. Because the future is going to be your present. The past is what you are now. So what you are now sitting here tonight, you must have done something right. Otherwise, you'll be like a bird flying all over. Your habitat, you'll be going to the agogo, you'll be going to karaoke, you'll be going everywhere except here. So you must have done something right. Right? When you see today now, you must have done something right. Something really, really right. Just as in the future, it will be all right if you do what you're doing now. We are going towards, the more you practice, the more you build up your paramis, the more you're reaching the end of suffering. Yes. Yes, that is true. If you want to see your future, see your present.